I've been looking forward to this day for 3 long months, ever since I placed the order with Milltek Sport. Now, what we've got in the boxes here is the Catback unresonated exhaust for the Audi RS3. So we're not necessarily going to see any performance gains, but stick around in the video and we will talk about maybe squeezing a bit more power out of this car down the line. For now, let me unpack these boxes, get it laid out and show you what makes up the Milltek Sport performance exhaust for the Audi RS3. Before we get started, be sure to click that subscribe button and notification bell to be notified of any new videos. Whilst you're there, why not check out some of the other videos on the channel? Okay, with everything unpacked, let me walk you through what we've got. So we have, I guess what they call the mid pipes here. Typically, if you had the resonated version, you would have a big resonator sitting around about here, but ours is obviously just a straight pipe through for that extra beefy volume. We have all our fitting equipment here, so our clamps, which are severely chunky actually, so that's really good to see. We've got the big muffler at the back here, and you'll see actually this is a provision so that we can use the OEM exhaust flap motors so that we have that same functionality on here as well. So it's just a matter of switching the motor which sits on top here from the OEM to this one here, and then we won't get any errors on the car as well. These little guys here are extension pipes for the tips. So if you run a sedan, you need to use these so that the tips are sitting in the right place on the muffler. If you run a hatch, you don't need those. And finally, we come up to the exhaust tips, which look very nice in that satin black with the, focus a bit here, Milltek logo. Yeah, it's sort of like etched in actually, it's not printed, it's sort of like laser cut in, which is a really nice touch. I actually thought these were bigger than OEM, but if we hold them up, you can see actually about the same size. So yeah, you kind of retain that OEM look, but hopefully not the OEM sound. Now you could fit this by yourself in the garage just by putting the car up on jack stands and kind of sliding underneath it like that. It's going to be a little bit tricky, but I've been lucky enough to be offered a hoist from my friend who has a shop. Shout out to Short Shift Speed Shop. So we're going to head off to Will's, get the car on a hoist, and it's going to make the job 10 times easier. So I'll pack this up, we'll head over and we'll get started. Okay, that's everything packed into the car, but before we get going, I just wanted to touch on a couple of points. I want to make this video quite useful, so as well as showing you guys how to install it and how to remove the old one, I'm also going to do a whole bunch of comparison videos / sound clips, so you'll hear the stock versus the Milltek unresonated Catback. And the other thing I wanted to touch on, if you own one of these cars, you'll probably know that they have an insane exhaust rattle when they do a cold start. Take a listen. Which I think you'll agree sounds like absolute poo. Sounds like the car's about to fall apart. And as yet, Audi don't really have a fix for it. So if you go into the dealership with this complaint, they'll just replace the rear muffler, and sometimes it fixes it and sometimes it doesn't. But I'm hoping that with the replacement to an aftermarket system, it will be 100% fix, and I'm looking forward to starting my car and not having it sound like a tin of marbles rattling around. But with all that being said, let's crack on and get this thing fitted. told you guys Will had some very interesting things in the shop. Anyway, if you are interested in what Will does, he's going to tell you. I'm going to put him on the spot.
Vintage restorations and maintenance, classic cars, vintage cars, buying and selling cars, bit of everything. And
he's a top bloke. If he looks familiar, he was in a previous video we did for, what was it called? Celebration of the Motor Car, where he had a spotlight telling you all about WO Bentleys and stuff like that. So you can go and check that out. I'll link it up in the corner here. Anyway, we've got the car up on the hoist, so let's go have a look and see what we're working with. Alright, so you'll have to excuse the lighting. Will doesn't have a spotlight. Disaster. Okay, so this is the factory system. He's already jumped ahead, taken a couple of clamps off here. What are these things, Will?
Oh, they're sleeves that join the two together.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay.
Which so, we're not doing with the new one. The new one slots onto these and then clamps on top.
Beautiful. So we're basically removing all of this system here. You can see a couple of little silencers, I guess you call them, or mufflers. So that should help release a bit more of that sound. And then it's all one piece to the back. Alright, so these are the plugs for the motors on the exhaust. You actually just unplug them from the back here, which you can hopefully see. And then we'll take this whole thing off and we'll actually remove those once it's on the floor, and it'll make it a bit easier. One other point you just need to remove is the cross brace that you saw me remove here as well, obviously. Alright, so we got the whole system out on the floor. Thank you, sir. You need one of these. So we're basically taking these 3 bolts off and then transferring that over to there. Yeah. That
goes on that.
Oh wow, that's very complicated.
It's pretty complicated. And then that goes on that.
Alright, let's do it. Alright, quick updates. Both motors are on, so we've got that one, just need to clean it up a bit. This one's on, and Will has taken the rubber hangers off the old one. We're going to transfer those across. It's easier to actually unbolt it from, I guess the chassis, I guess you'd call it, rather than try to get these hangers off when it's on the car. So we'll just pop those on there and then be able to bolt it back on. So we're just going to give it a bit of a clean up.
Automotive silicone.
So the equivalent of KY jelly, I suppose?
Yeah. Always time for lube, mate.
Always time for lube. Just makes it a bit easier.
Straight on.
Mate, that didn't even touch the sides.
No. Banana down a hallway.
Okay, plan of attack is to put the rear section up by itself, and that way we can get some exhaust paste on the joins. Because Will is the ultimate professional and insists on using exhaust paste. And then we can put the midsection in when it's in situ and hook it up to the rest of the system. So I'll put you on the tripod and we'll get that done. Okay, because this thing doesn't come with instructions, we're kind of finding our own way. I don't know if you can see it, but the exhaust mount up there, you actually have to flip it around, reverse it, because the actual muffler is a lot wider than the factory one. So make sure you flip these around to point the other way and it should fit on fine. Okay, now we move on to the center section. So after much cursing and swearing, the system is finally on. Actually, it wasn't that bad, really.
It was quite easy.
It was pretty easy, straightforward, and it fits fairly well. So Will was saying Milltek stuff generally fits quite well. So we're up to the tips, And like I said before, we just need to put those extenders on and then find the optimum place where you want the tip and clamp it up. Don't be disgusting. But yeah, it's so far a fairly easy job, especially for me because I've done pretty much bugger all. Done. Time for the initial startup. Will, do you want to do the honors? Alright, here we go. The initial startup of the Milltek Sport Performance exhaust. Whee! That sounds awesome. Alright, give it a few revs. Very nice. What do you reckon?
Needs to get down the road now.
Needs to go down the road. Alright, let's get this out of the shop and go for a drive.
I'm ready to go.
You ready to
do
go?
I paddle it?
Nope, it'll do everything.
That's it.
That's it.
Oh god, that's fantastic. That is so good. Gears.
I actually haven't been a passenger in this car.
Did it feel fast?
Yeah, it actually feels a lot faster on this side. Huge shout out to Will from Short Shift Speed Shop. Check out his Instagram. I'll link it down below. Lots of interesting cars. What are you working on at the moment anyway?
1956 Bentley S1.
Yep, I think that's this one back here.
Modifying a Defender 110.
Oh yes.
Hashtag
Lara Croft.
Integrale.
Very nice.
Porsche 356.
Saw a peek of that earlier on, yep.
2 Mark IIs. And I've got to need to top up the storage unit.
So keeping very, very busy. So thank you so much for helping out
welcome.
today. It's time now. At the beginning of the video, I did promise you that this will be a useful video. So now we have to go off and do some comparisons between stock and the Milltek. But for that, I need some help. So we'll go find that now. Just kidding guys, that was pretty cheesy, I do apologise. Now with me I've got Bryan, and you might remember him from such videos as installing the carbon fibre intake on my car. And Bryan's got this beautiful Panther Black 2017 RS3. So same year as mine, it's obviously a sedan, and I have to say in the sun today the colour is berserk. How's it going, mate?
You good yourself?
Very good. Now Bryan's car is obviously not totally standard. He's got some beautiful aesthetic mods and he does have an intake, so I just want you guys to know that for full transparency. But in terms of the exhaust, it is still standard, correct?
Still stock standard exhaust.
Probably not for long, so we're going to make use of this opportunity to compare his stock exhaust sounds to my Milltek exhaust sounds. So for all of you guys that are considering buying a Milltek exhaust, here's the difference between stock and Milltek. Let's roll the tape.
hijacking Alex's equipment. Let's wait for him to get back. Exhaust note sounds so good. Driving behind that car. I can't even hear my car anymore, and that worries me, so I think I need to start driving in front of him more. But there is something to look into. New exhaust makes it sound a bit more vroom vroom.
Well, I think that pretty much covers it in terms of comparisons. Look, if you guys want to see any other exhaust videos, just let me know in the comments down below, and maybe I can upload that into my Instagram as a small video. Big thanks to Bryan for helping out. I'll link Bryan's Instagram down below as well, and you guys can check out and monitor his build. What I want to do now is just take a few minutes to talk about the exhaust system and living with it for a couple of weeks. So thanks to the power of video editing, I've actually had this exhaust on the car for a couple of weeks, and it's allowed me to notice a few things that I might pass on to you guys, because it changes from when you actually first install it to a couple of weeks later. You get a carbon buildup, so your exhaust will get louder after a couple of weeks of having it on the car. So that's one thing. The other thing to remember, guys, there is a resonated version of this. So if this version is too loud for your liking and you're just looking for a little bit of extra sound, then there is a resonated version which would be slightly quieter. You've obviously watched the install of the exhaust, and I just want to comment on that. It was super easy. Of course, I had the advantage of having a hoist, which is great, but you can just as easily do it with a couple of jack stands in your garage, and you're just going to have to crawl around under the car. But very, very simple install and quality fitment from Milltek. One other thing I noticed with the sound is that when we first installed it, it actually sounded a lot quieter than I expected. I thought it was going to make a much more dramatic change. But one thing to remember is that our cabins are really well insulated. So what you're hearing inside the cabin does not necessarily mean what you're hearing outside is the same. I actually had Bryan tell me that the car is a lot louder than what it was before, but from inside I couldn't tell the difference. So keep that in mind, and don't be too disappointed when it doesn't sound quite the way you expect it from inside the cabin. Get your mate to take the car for a drive and you'll probably hear the difference straight away. That's really about it from me. If you have any suggestions, anything else you want to see, like I said, drop me a comment and I'll put it into the Instagram. I did want to leave a bit of a challenge for you guys. So we have a Catback system on the car now. If you want to see me put a catless dump pipe into this car and shoot flames and get it even more louder, make sure you subscribe. If we can get to 1,000 subscribers, I promise you I will put a catless dump pipe on the car. So I'll leave that challenge with you. I hope you enjoyed the video. Give it a like if you did. As always, subscribe, leave comments, all that kind of good stuff that I've got to say, and I'll see you in the next video. Ciao.